The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. Chapter 1. In an Unexpected Party. In a hole in the ground there lived a hobbit. Not a nasty, dirty, wet hole filled with the ends of worms and an oozy smell. Not yet a dry, bare, sandy hole with nothing in it to sit down or to eat. It was a hobbit-hole, and that means comfort. My first question for you, what are the two kinds of holes that the hobbit hole was not? Answer. Well, it was not a nasty, wet hole, so it was not humid. It didn't have water on the walls around it, right? And you couldn't see the ends, like the head or the tail, the head or the tail of worms, like earthworm. Earthworm is the worm we use to fish. Some people, of course, many other people use artificial bait. But you can have other worms, right? For example, any animal, that is quite soft and disgusting and looks like a tiny snake, we could call worm. By the way, remember there is this expression, worm, bookworm. A bookworm is a person who loves books, who reads books all the time, right? Imagine there's a cockroach on the floor, and then you just crush the cockroach, right? There will be an oozy substance coming from the cockroach. I don't know if you have ever tried. I don't think I have. But if you stick your hand to that substance and you do like this, you'll see that the substance is very oozy. And probably if you do worse, you get that oozy substance and you smell, there will be an oozy smell. So look, you could imagine that a wet hole would be like that, right? Many animals and insects and worms would die there inside, and then it would be oozy, right? Not only to the smell, but also to the touch. And, well, that's the first kind. What is the second kind? Answer, if you haven't. Well, the second kind, imagine like a hole in a desert, right? I don't know, there's just sand or just rock around. Nothing else, because nothing survives there. But remember, we were talking about hobbits, right? And it's not the case, right? One more time, let me read this first part for you. In a hole in the ground there lived a hobbit. Not a nasty, disgusting, dirty, wet hole filled with ends of worms and an oozy smell, nor yet a dry, bare, sandy hole with nothing in it to sit down or to eat. It was a hobbit hole, and that means comfort. It had a perfectly round door, like a porthole, painted green, with a shiny yellow brass knob in the exact middle. The door opened on to a tube-shaped hall, like a tunnel. A very comfortable tunnel, just a sec, there is, without smoke, with paneled walls, and floors tiled and carpeted, provided with polished chairs and lots of bags for hats and coats. The hobbit was fond of visitors. Well, first question. It's okay if you don't remember, it's new vocabulary. Where do we usually find a porthole? Answer? Well, we can find a porthole on a ship, right? The little round window on a ship we call porthole. Second question. What kind of I don't know, can you give me an example of something that is usually made of brass? Answer. Well, instruments are, you know, you have to pause and answer, right? And then you resume the video, right? So my question, or can you name something that is made of brass? Answer. I don't know. Instruments are made of brass. Some instruments, you know, like I don't know, trumpets and things like that. Remember that brass is copper and zinc together, right? This is a mixture of metals. Question: how many knobs does your door to the house have? Answer: not a one, but two, right? Probably. I don't know your house, but you have one knob to the interior of the house and the other knob to the exterior of the house, right? So you have to imagine this very perfectly round shaped door and a knob right there in the middle, right? So you can open it. Question: have you ever visited a house with paneled walls? Answer. Well, I know I haven't. Remember, paneled walls, you have it's a kind of, let's say, call it wood tiles on the walls, right? So all the walls are covered with that wood layer, so it will be very beautiful. I have never been to a house like that. I remember when I was a teenager, 14 years old, my father was a carpenter, and I used to be a carpenter with my father. And I remember once we made paneled walls, but it was for an office of a lawyer. Okay, so my answer would be not for houses. Question: which one would be easier for you to clean? A tiled floor or a carpeted floor? Answer. Well, for sure, a tiled floor, right? You can spill water on the floor when it's tiled. If the floor is carpeted, then you're going to need a vacuum cleaner. But sometimes a vacuum cleaner just won't do, you know, because imagine, like, I don't know, you spill yogurt on the carpet. You know, if it's a tiled floor, you just go there, you get a wet cloth, you know, piece of clothing, and you just clean it, and that's it. With a carpet, my friend, then you are in for a big trouble. Question: what is the difference between carpet and rug? Answer. Well, a carpet, first of all, it's all over the floor, right? And it's fixed there. You cannot take it out. I mean, if you do so, probably you're going to damage the carpet. A rug is, you know, smaller, something you put there, but you can move, you can put it to wash, things like that. Very nice. My next question. Do you have pegs for hats and coats at home? Answer. Well, in my case, I don't. Pegs, you know, are those little supports, right? And I don't know, sometimes you have, you know, a kind of rack that is like a big pole, you know, and then there are lots of pegs going in all directions. Then you can put hats and coats around, so that's a possibility. Okay, so question: tell me something you are very fond of. Answer. Well, In my case, I'm very fond of not visitors for sure. It's not that I don't like visitors, but I'm not a big fan. I'm fond of books, you can see. Well, what else am I fond of? I'm fond of Japanese food. I'm fond of good movies as well. Alright, so let me read it one more time. It had a perfectly round door like a porthole, painted green, with shiny yellow brass knob in the exact middle. The door opened on to a tube-shaped hall. So it's a hall that has the shape of a tube. Remember, there is a book, I think there is a book by Stephen King's son. I forgot his name, but I know it's his son. He's a famous writer as well, just like his father. And there is a book called Heart-Shaped Box. So you can imagine a box, you can open the box, but it has the shape of a heart. Heart-shaped box, tube-shaped hall, like a tunnel. Okay, of course, tunnels are tube-shaped, right? To a tube-shaped hall, like a tunnel. A very comfortable tunnel without smoke, with paneled walls and floors tiled and carpeted. Provided with polished chairs, so the chairs probably would shine, right? Because you polish the chair, just as you would polish a car after washing it. And lots of pegs for hats and coats. The Hobbit was fond of visitors. By the way, keep in mind you can have nail polish, right? You have nail polish like red, and it's beautiful. And say, oh, look, my nail polish. Okay, let's continue. The tunnel wound on and on, going fairly, but not quite, straight into the side of the hill. The hill, as all the people for many miles round called it, and many little round doors open out of it, first on one side, then on the other. I don't have any questions, but I would like to read it one more time, explaining vocabulary. Just reviewing vocabulary, right? The tunnel wound, just like, I don't know if you have a street going up or going down a mountain. I don't know, most of them won't go just straight, they will wind, right? The past of wind is wound, all right? So, imagine you opened, and this is what the narrator is doing, right? The narrator's taking us. So, first of all, we are in front of the door. We see this big door as a porthole. We see the knob. We see that it's made of brass. We open the door, and suddenly we see a tunnel, right? And of course, this tunnel is tube-shaped. But of course, we see right away that this tunnel is not dry and it's not wet, but it's a hall as well, just like any house, right? And then, of course, there's the carpet, the tiles, the paneled walls, all of that we see, and we realize that this is comfort, right? And as we enter the hall, we realize that this tunnel winds, right? On and on, right? Going fairly, it's like pretty much, but not quite, but not a lot, is straight. So it winds, but not so much, so the tunnel wouldn't go like this, but it isn't a straight tunnel like this, right? Not quite straight into the side of the hill. The hill, as all the people for many miles around called it, right? So they just called the hill, right? It's like you live in a very small street, and then you live in a very small town, and then you call the main street, all right? So the hill, as all the people for many miles round called it. So let's continue. Into the side of the hill, and many little round doors opened out of it, out of the hill, right? If you took a look around the hill, you would say that many round doors would open out of it. First on one side and then on another.